Welcome to the deep dive. We're jumping straight into a really vital topic today.
hmm
How women, say, in their early to mid 30s, can start making smart choices now
Right now, yeah.
to, shape a healthier, smoother journey through menopause and, well, beyond.
Exactly. It's about being proactive.
Yeah. Our goal here is to pull out the most useful strategies from this text we've been looking at, give you a clear path towards feeling your best, in your mature years.
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't about like waiting for symptoms to just pop up. It's about getting ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
The material we've got here is honestly packed with guidance. Nutrition, exercise, key active compounds.
Yeah.
It's all focused on proactively minimizing those potential challenges of menopause.
And for you listening, this is really about empowering yourself, giving you knowledge that can make a real difference down the line. We're
Yeah.
going to explore how these early steps can, positively impact your health, maybe even fend off things like type 2 diabetes, heart issues, neuroinflammation.
Bone health too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Osteoporosis.
Exactly. Keeping bones strong. So let's unpack this. And we're starting somewhere maybe a little unexpected, the emotional state.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it, how the text really emphasizes that a calm, sort of self-caring emotional foundation.
Yeah.
It's absolutely key.
Hmm.
It basically suggests that even the best diet plans, the perfect workout routines, hormone support, none of it's going to be fully effective without that underlying sense of well-being.
It really struck me, too. The text talks about needing self-awareness,
Mhm.
acknowledging vulnerabilities, fears,
Yeah.
especially for women who are maybe high achievers,
Mhm.
driven by that fear of not succeeding.
That's a big one.
Mm.
The text actually points out that sometimes if you start these preventative things from a place of anxiety,
Mm.
well, it can actually be harder.
Really?
Yeah.
Harder than approaching it with, like, calmness and patience.
Yeah, that's the idea. It brings up this really important point about mindset, doesn't it?
It does.
The text is pretty clear. Taking time for yourself, prioritizing rest,
Mhm.
connection. These aren't just like nice to haves,
They're fundamental.
fundamental.
Yeah.
It even gives permission for, the occasional indulgence, like pizza with friends or family.
Uh-huh. Right. Pizza gets a mention.
It does. It's part of that bigger picture of self-compassion. It's about progress, right? Not chasing some impossible ideal all the time.
Okay, so that's the foundation, emotional well-being. With that in mind, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of nutrition for this transition. The text has some practical stuff here.
Definitely. And connecting it back to preventing those long-term metabolic issues,
Mm-hmm.
the text generally recommends a lower carbohydrate approach. Personalized, of course.
Mhm.
But the main thing is cutting back on ultra-processed foods
Okay.
and those high glycemic load carbs. Think white rice, refined pasta, the stuff without much fiber.
Right, to avoid those blood sugar spikes.
Exactly. The goal is to help prevent insulin resistance,
Oh, yeah.
where your cells get a bit less responsive to insulin.
Like a bad radio signal.
Yeah, good analogy. And hyperinsulinemia, too much insulin, and that buildup of visceral fat around the organs, which can creep up as we head towards menopause.
That makes total sense. Steady blood sugar. And the text also talks about getting enough healthy fats, right? Avocado, olives, oily fish.
Mm-hmm. Crucial. And sufficient protein, too. I thought it was interesting. It specifically called out vegan options.
Yeah, me too. Making sure you get those essential amino acids like leucine, soy isolates, so you're covered even without animal products.
But what's also key is that it doesn't say, like, zero carbs. Not at all.
No.
No, it emphasizes fiber-rich ones. Fruits, legumes, pseudo-cereals. They're great for insulin sensitivity and getting those micronutrients.
Okay.
And here's a neat little tip it mentioned. Resistant starch
Oh, yeah.
from cooking and then cooling things like potatoes or rice. Apparently really good for your gut
Oh,
health.
that's a cool trick. Cooked and cooled. Got it. And timing carbs around workouts. That seems smart.
Yeah, the text suggests it can help performance, refill your glycogen stores, and support muscle building. It touches on keto diets, briefly might have a place sometimes, it suggests. But generally, a balanced, lower-carb, whole food approach seems to be the preferred long-term thing.
So the big picture is avoiding those insulin surges. Focus on veggies, leafy greens, fibrous carbs.
Paired with healthy fats and proteins, creating that stable internal environment. Exactly.
Okay, so we've got emotions, we've got fuel. Now, exercise. We all know it's important, but why is it especially critical during this pre-menopause phase?
Well, the text is really clear on this. Exercise is just crucial, especially for burning calories because our muscle mass naturally tends to decline, maybe starting around 40.
Sarcopenia.
That's the one. age-related muscle loss.
Mhm.
And the text really highlights taking steps early to slow that down. Less muscle means a lower metabolism, generally.
Even just aiming for 10,000 steps makes a difference, it says.
It really does add up.
Yeah.
But what stood out was the recommendation for combining HII, high-intensity interval training, with strength training. HIT is great for your heart, your lungs. Plus, it mentions this positive effect on the nervous system, releasing endorphins, endocannabinoids.
Ah, the feel-good chemicals.
Exactly. And then strength training. We really can't underestimate its power here.
Why is that?
Well, the text points out it's essential for keeping muscles strong, fighting that sarcopenia we mentioned, but also for preventing something called peripheral insulin resistance.
Okay, what's that?
It basically makes it harder for your body to handle carbs effectively, especially after menopause. Strength training helps combat that. Plus, it's huge for bone health.
Right. Helping bones hold on to minerals,
Yeah,
preventing osteoporosis.
precisely. Key stuff.
I liked the idea of hybrid training I mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Combining HIIT with functional strength moves, like movements you actually use day to day, seems
Yeah.
more effective than just isolation exercises for looks.
Yeah, it's about building real, usable strength and fitness. That's a key takeaway.
But there's a warning too, isn't there?
Oh, definitely. A really important one. Doing too much exercise without enough carbs and overall calories.
Mm-hmm.
That can backfire.
How so?
It can potentially mess with your hormones,
Yeah.
lower progesterone, DHEA, cortisol. It even mentions links to things like fibromyalgia and sleep issues.
Wow. So it's about balance, not just pushing harder and harder.
Exactly. Finding
Yeah.
that smart sweet spot.
Such a crucial reminder. Okay, moving on. Supplements and active compounds. This can feel like a minefield sometimes.
It can, yeah. But the text offers some helpful direction here. It positions supplements as like supporting tools.
Mm-hmm.
They work best alongside the healthy diet, the exercise, the rest. They just help you reach optimal levels of certain things you might not get enough of from food alone.
Okay. It lists quite a few things relevant for this premenopausal stage.
It does. Things like myoinositol and berberine for insulin resistance,
Right?
creatine and essential amino acids for workouts and muscle support,
Hmm.
adaptogens, ashwagandha, maca, rhodiola, ginseng for stress.
That's a lot already.
It is. And then there are broccoli extracts, things like indole 3-carbinol, sulforaphane,
Dim
dendelielmethane,
thing.
and lignans. They're mentioned for helping with estrogen balance.
Interesting.
Also chaste tree or vitex for stress-related low progesterone or maybe high estrogen. Vitamin D obviously emphasizes getting levels checked.
Always important. Vitamin D.
Yeah. And it touches on other hormones like insulin, thyroid,
Mm-hmm.
and sea buckthorn for dryness, vulvar atrophy, mucosal hydration.
Okay. It even mentioned a specific product, didn't it? Vital Woman.
It did, yeah, saying it contains many of these ingredients. But, and this is key, it's very careful to say, supplements only work if the foundations are there.
Right. The lifestyle stuff, professional guidance.
Exactly. Supplements aren't magic bullets. They support a holistic approach,
Mm-hmm.
which leads nicely into the next bit. Proactive hormone management.
This feels really important. Maybe something women in their 30s don't even think about yet.
I think you're right. The text explains that hormonal shifts can actually start well before menopause,
Yeah.
during that perimenopausal transition,
Mhm.
and they can get, significantly worse post-menopause if you haven't been paying attention. Just waiting until later for HRT without understanding your baseline.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
So what does it suggest?
Keeping an eye on key hormone levels. Through
Yep.
proper testing, it mentions aiming for insulin below 10, good sensitivity marker,
Okay.
TSH, thyroid-stimulating hormone, keeping that below 3 ideally, to maybe catch subclinical thyroid issues early,
Ah, good tip.
and monitoring progesterone. It suggests talking to your gynecologist about bioidentical progesterone if your cycles start getting longer.
Okay.
That could signal a luteal phase issue, maybe from stress.
Oh, what else?
DHEA sulfate, important counterhormone to cortisol, precursor to testosterone,
Mhm.
might consider replenishment if it's low.
Mm-hmm.
It also mentions testosterone itself and androstenedione. If those are low, maybe consider supplementation,
Mm-hmm.
and even pregnenolone.
Right.
Yeah, something to potentially discuss with the doctor if you have issues like nighttime hyperactivity. It releases a neurotransmitter balance too. It sounds like a really personalized deep dive into your own hormonal picture.
Absolutely. It's about being informed, working with your healthcare team, understanding your individual needs,
Yeah,
getting ahead of potential imbalances,
definitely. Now, shifting gears slightly,
Ah.
the text brings it back to something broader, doesn't it? Reconnecting with the femininity, well-being.
It does, yeah, and it's a really lovely transition. It talks about the self-knowledge we gain through life's challenges,
Hmm.
and it encourages women, maybe especially approaching their 40s or 45s, not to neglect those sort of feminine aspects of life that might have been overshadowed by career, family.
Like what specifically?
Things like, well, eroticism, sexuality, finding joy in movement like dance, making your home feel nurturing, emotional introspection,
Oh.
expressing your personal style.
It acknowledges that libido changes are common, right? But maybe hard to talk about. Exactly. It stresses that feeling embarrassed isn't necessary, and embracing your sexuality is natural, empowering at any age.
That feels so important to state clearly.
It really does. The text frames this self-exploration, finding joy, embracing femininity. It frames them as essential for happiness
Mm.
and potentially making the whole menopause transition feel more positive.
Nurturing yourself on all levels.
Yeah.
Mind, body, spirit.
Exactly that. Recognizing well-being is more than just physical health. It's emotional, it's sensual, it's the whole picture.
So, wrapping this up, this deep dive has really hammered home that preparing for menopause in your 30s, it's truly holistic. It's weaving together emotional health, personalized food choices, the right kind of movement, smart supplementation if needed, keeping tabs on hormones.
And staying connected to your sense of self, your femininity.
Right. So, for you listening, maybe think about which of these areas kind of resonates most right now.
Yeah. What's maybe one small, manageable step you could take this week, perhaps, to actively support your long-term health, your well-being, as you move towards this natural transition?
It's not about some massive overhaul overnight, is it?
Not at all. It's about consistent, mindful integrations. Little steps add up.
That's a great way to put it. We really hope you'll reflect on these insights. Maybe chat about them with your doctor or healthcare provider. What questions came up for you as you were listening? We genuinely love to hear your thoughts. And what other topics you might like us to explore in future deep dives.